when you look at the picture, it looks nice.
It looks great.
And what is the worst thing to happen when it comes to real estate? It's the same as dating.
They always look good in the pictures.
But wait, we'll show you some more pictures that they don't show you on the listing, which makes it a little bit interesting. So you're looking at a house that costs $350K, and you're staring at least $55K in repair costs in the next 2 years.
Oh, let's be honest. You're staring at probably $500,000.
This is a major red flag. The replacement cost is so far above the value.
Tells me that there's a potential opportunity, but it also tells me that you can't insure for what you're buying it for.
What this doesn't show you, because we don't expose this information, is that this property is actually owned by the bank.
What do you really own as far as the land goes, and what do you need to do to that land?
This is not for the first-time buyer, but this is the kind of thing that we're built for. What are the 3 things you're looking out for at this house? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, ships at sea, it is time for another episode of Property of the Week with PropertyLens. For those of you who don't know, I'm Bob Frady, co-founder and CEO of PropertyLens, and with me, as always,
John Siegman, co-founder and president of PropertyLens.
So, John, I don't know how I managed to find these places, but today's property is in Mississippi. And why Mississippi? I don't know. Maybe I was counting 3 Mississippis and I figured I got down to 1 and should pick a property. I just went into Mississippi. I picked a house that looked like a reasonable number and came up with this little baby. 3400 Kickapoo Road in Jackson, Mississippi. Or some people would say Clinton, Mississippi, because it's got some addressing issues as well. But that's what we found for today. It is Jackson, Mississippi. It is 6,714 square feet for $349,000. An 8.2 acre lot. It's been on the market for 249 days.
And that means that nobody's interested.
That's a discount opportunity waiting to happen right there.
Oh, yeah.
The listing price is just a suggestion. Come with your offers. So that's the first hint, is that price and time, something's off. So then we go down here and we look at the details. It's an extra large home with a garage apartment and guest home. Could be a good opportunity to rebuild a great home, approximately 6,700 square feet. Could be a great retreat. This property is in need of repairs. Property is being sold as is. In real estate, the magic words.
Build. As is.
Bring your repair to belt.
So
I said,
hi, this house is a lot of work.
Yeah.
That's what that says.
It's a lot of work. I go to my PropertyLens screen, and I'm assuming you can see 3440 Kickapoo Road. And then we go and look at the report.
We nailed it on the condition of the property.
Yeah.
And it's, it's average for safe place, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with being average. It's the U.S. It's a relatively safe country. Let's see. We got the owner has been there forever, but apparently hasn't been doing any maintenance.
Yep.
11 possible damaging events. Yeah, because get this, there are tornadoes and hurricanes and such things down there in Mississippi.
If you have a tin roof on your house, what does it indicate?
If you have a tin roof on your house, it indicates that you got tired of replacing a roof.
Which is hail. Oh, hail. Oh, hail. I got me a tin roof.
So
yeah, I can say that because my daddy's from South Carolina. So, hail. I got a tin roof.
Below average for tax increases, below average for insurance increases. So that's always good. Not a flip property, though it could be a flip opportunity. Not in a flood zone. All right. So, it's got some pluses to its minuses.
Yep. And here's the fun one. It has a history of foreclosure. Now, what this doesn't show you, because we don't expose this information, is that this property is actually owned by the bank.
Ooh.
So
nobody's living there.
Nobody's living there. This thing's been sitting empty. So it needs major renovations, high repair costs. Yeah, the roof's in fair condition. There's a lot of issues with this place, hence the price. So we keep rolling down and we get high risk events, wind, hail, tornado, and lightning all in this area. The roof, it's a metal roof. It's in fair condition and it's not rated all that well. And it's 34 years old. HVAC is going to need replacement soon with significant costs, and you've got some high replacement costs on this house. The actual replacement cost for this house exceeds the market value of this house by an enormous amount, which
Oh,
tells you
yeah.
what?
Well, it tells me that there's a potential opportunity, but it also tells me that you can't insure it for what you're buying it for.
Correct. So, but it's a large lot. It's got a security fence. You're on public water. And it's got an apartment over the garage, which is nice. So a little income potentially. Clinton's known for low crime rates and safe community. It's in the Clinton Public School District, which is nice. More than 100 miles from the coast. It's close to fire stations, enhancing your emergency response times. So it's got a lot of, potential good things about it. But this number right here, this is a very conservative number. So you're looking at a house that costs $350K, and you're staring at least $55K in repair costs in the next 2
Oh,
years.
let's be honest. You're staring at probably $500,000.
Yeah, you're staring at a heck of a lot more than that.
Given the size, someone has to be done to it. The fact it's in foreclosure, nobody's living there. Yeah, just you're buying it for $350, and you're going to put another 500 into it at least.
But here's the thing, is when you look at the picture, it looks nice.
It looks great.
And what is the worst thing to happen when it comes to real estate? It's the same as dating.
They always look good in the pictures.
You don't look like your pictures. I'm gonna bet you this house does not look like its picture. And there aren't a lot of pictures, so there's a reason why there aren't a lot of pictures. If this place was pristine, there'd be like a bajillion pictures. And there's like 3 on this one. We don't have any record of these systems being repaired. The house says as is. We look at $55,000 as the minimum, but you're probably looking closer to about $200,000 in repair costs, just repair costs, assuming that there's no mold, assuming that there's, not rats have chewed all the insulation. There's a ton of things that could be wrong, but you're looking at a big ticket, almost as much to repair the house as to buy the house. Here's what we see. Hail and wind in this area. So the last one was 2013. But you got to figure out, what else have you seen here? It's a 37-year-old property. It's got a history of foreclosure. When you have a history of foreclosure, you have to ask the listing agent who actually owns this house. And is the title free and clear? And you got to get title insurance and all that stuff. But these are questions you can ask up front. Wind, hail, tornado, lightning, heat wave, everything. Termites, roofs in fair condition, toxic exposure. It's got some risk there. It's got a fireplace, which might be nice. Here's where we get into really interesting stuff. If the replacement cost on this is $281 a square foot, which seems kind of high, for Mississippi, but it's going to cost you $1.8 million to replace this versus a property that costs $300,000.
If you think about it, $281 a square is not all that expensive.
It's not crazy.
You could be buying the bargain of the century here if
Yep.
you want to live in Jackson, Mississippi.
I've been to Jackson. It's a beautiful place.
I've been to
So
Jackson.
It's good.
I'm not saying you wouldn't want to live there.
Every place has its issues. Every place has its benefits. I like Jackson. It was nice. This is a major red flag. The replacement cost is so far above the value that you have to wonder, am I better off just scraping this thing down and starting all over again rather than trying to rebuild an existing structure? And that's an unknown, but it's going to cost you 25, 30 grand to scrape that thing and start over, with all the plumbing and fixtures and foundation in place, and then build on top of it, which might be less expensive in the long run than building a brand new place or repairing the place that you have.
Almost sounds like the voice of experience there.
Oh, yeah. Well, I love looking at real estate. It's fun. Okay, here's the most recent listing. The market value showing for about $375. It's underpriced a little bit. The question I would have is this place livable? It needs a lot of repairs. Can you live in the garage apartment while you repair the main house? Listen, this is not for the first-time buyer unless that first-time buyer has a tool belt and knows how to fix stuff, or parents who can help them pay for everything. It's not for people who like turnkey locations, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done. This is not for the faint of heart. However, you do get 8 acres of land, which is pretty cool. Here it is, foreclosed in 21 with no other changes to the deed.
So this house could have been sitting empty for the last 4 years.
Yep.
And that's not good for a house.
What's interesting is why there's a gap in here between the foreclosure date and the listing date. Maybe they rented it out. Who knows? But this is the kind of thing that we're built for. You see this pretty picture, like, look at this house. This is great, as is. What's going to involve? And now you go in knowing, here's all the stuff I'm going to have to do. And some people this is great. I want to do this, like rebuilding houses. But there's a ton of questions around this. Property taxes are pretty flat, probably because it's been a foreclosure. It's gone up a few $100 over the last several years. And there's 3 pictures.
And they're all of the outside.
All of the outside. But wait, we'll show you some more pictures that they don't show you on the listing, which makes it a little bit interesting. Here's our damaging events, 3.5 and 3.25 inch hail. Holy cow, that's like a baseball. There's another event in 2023, 1.5 inch hail, and lots of wind events. Now, when we look at aerial views of the property, what do we see in the backyard?
Well, we see some other projects that you could be working on.
What's going on? It's like, it's a 37-year-old roof. It's tin. It's got about 31 years left on its active life. And this by itself to replace is about $100,000. It's pricey. What's our roof condition telling us?
Well, it's a medium condition, so you're about halfway through its expected lifespan, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But, should it come time to be replaced, that's another $100,000 out of your pocket.
Yeah, this is a sooner rather than later replacement. If this house makes it through its useful life, that would be somewhat surprising. But given its condition and its age and its relative average condition, it's on the low side of average. One more good hailstorm, you'll be replacing this roof. What do we see in soil types in construction?
Nothing that's overly concerned. I mean, it's the South. Hey, welcome to the warmer parts of the country. Check for mud tunnels around the foundation, because down in the South, the termites actually tunnel and come up with their mud tunnels into your house. Everything there is actually pretty much fine, except you got to do the termites.
Yep. Check it out. It's good for lawns and gardens. The soil and the water table's about 5 feet down, so it's not completely arid. And let's see, we don't have any permits for this location. They are required for new construction, but not for what they'll call minor projects. So we don't have any permits. A little bit of risk from flood. We do see some riverine flooding on this location.
Yep.
Hasn't happened a lot, but it could happen. It's not an Lomer. The climate. Oh, yeah, you get all sorts of climate down this area.
It's the South. You're going to deal with all of this stuff. You can't really get a hurricane because you're more than 100 miles from the coast, but you're going to get all of the things associated with a hurricane, which is hail, lightning, tornadoes, wind. It's all there. You even get some winter weather.
Yep.
And it's humid. We know that.
Yep.
There's got to be
a little further north
and stuff like that going on.
On the good side, it's not near an active volcano. Crime's okay. No sex offenders nearby.
That's because there's nobody nearby. You're on 8.2 acres.
Yeah. You get your friends, and then you see that little creek where that flood risk comes from.
Oh, there are other creeks that are much closer.
It's quiet.
Something running through the property.
Points of interest within 5 miles. There's a little airport in case you want to learn how to fly. And there's some schools around, not too far away. So it's not, you know, it's not without its benefits to this location.
Its charms.
It has some charms. Some risk of mold is relatively moderate, but if the place hasn't been occupied, you want to keep an eye out for that. Got PFAS in your drinking water, but this is on city sewer. So if you're on a well, it's more of a concern. You may want to get the water tested. You may not, but the water quality is sort of the least of your problems right now with this house. Um, you've got some contaminated sites, but they're a bit away from you. Health and safety, not too far away. It's volunteer fire departments. So you've got that. It takes a little bit longer to get to your house in case of an issue. So you want to make sure you have fire extinguishers there to help put out any fires because they're going to take a little extra time to get to your house. Utility costs are relatively modest for this house.
Well, right now, utility costs are probably 0 for this house.
Yeah. Just plug into your neighbor's house. This number is astonishing. You're looking at $8,000 premium. That's $700 a month, which is a third of your mortgage payment in
No,
terms
you've
of
got plenty
insurance.
of exposure, and it's a big house.
The first thing you want to do is get an insurance quote on this house because, yeah, you've got your mortgage, you've got your repair costs, but then you've got this cost as well that isn't going to go away. Um, so you want to make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. People want to quote it. They're like, hell yeah, I'll quote it. And then you've got your timeline of events. So, John, given everything that we've seen about 3440 Kickapoo Road in Clinton, Mississippi, what are the 3 things you're looking out for at this house?
I'm not looking out for anything because there's no way I'm buying this thing.
Well, let's say you had
It's
to.
the easiest decision in my life.
Okay, you're out.
Well,
But
I'm
let's say
out.
you were in. Let's
I
say
don't
you were
care if it's
advising
got a
someone.
great personality or not.
It can
Um,
dance. So
okay.
let's say one of your relatives wants to buy this house. What are the 3 things that you would alert them
No,
for at this
stop,
property?
don't. Why don't they listen to Mr. Wonka?
Because they're dopes, John.
That's exactly correct. So, I would be looking at the following 3 things. The first thing is this a tear down or is this for real? So, I'm gonna go find a contractor, and I'm gonna walk through the house with the contractor. Even as I'm thinking of buying it, not after I bought it, that's too late. You're in love, and at that point, you're married. So you love this house. It's time to do a little marriage counseling and see about, with a contractor, what's it really gonna take? What's it gonna take to bring the electrical up? What's it gonna take to bring the plumbing up? What does it need from and we haven't seen anything inside. For all we know, there are no appliances. There are no, the outlets could be gone. Walls, it could be just down to the studs. We know nothing about this house other than it's big and there's an apartment over the garage. So I'm bringing a contractor with me. That's the first thing I'm doing. So go find somebody you think you can trust and have them walk through and have them start estimating so you know what your real cost is going to be. Because while we're telling you, hey, you probably got about $200,000 worth of repairs here, it could be significantly more than that, depending upon what you want to do with the property. So this seeming bargain at 350, because 350 for 6,400 square feet on 8 acres, that's a $10 million property where I live. You look at it and you go, nope, let's plenty of opportunity, but let's make sure that we're really doing something. So I'm getting a contractor. That's the first thing I'm doing. Second thing I'm doing is I'm looking at the entire property. You've got 8 acres. There are multiple buildings on this property and apparently multiple vehicles that you are about to inherit. Hopefully there's plenty of barn finds and maybe the buyout is worth it. Not likely. So, what do you really own as far as the land goes and what do you need to do to that land? So what are the requirements from a maintenance standpoint? Do you have to do anything? Is the barn and all those cars, telling you that there are other structures that also need to be torn down? There's a lot of questions that, are there. So that's the second thing. Third thing, I want to know from the bank, what it is going to take to actually get this thing off of their books. The bank clearly doesn't want it. The bank doesn't think that it's even worth market value. So 350, I'm thinking 250 to start, maybe even 150, because there's just so much unknown about this property that, hey, too much to do. You're not going to sell it. Here's some real cash. Nobody else has offered you this in 250 plus days. That's what I know. But I don't know what Mississippi land is worth. So maybe the 8.2 acres is worth the purchase price and you just mow everything down and just sit on the land. Those would be the three things that I would be primarily concerned about. But my list could go on and on but I stop at three because one of us here can actually count.
Well,
So, given that
the
what you've seen and what you've heard from me, what are your three things?
so if I were looking at 3440 Kickapoo Road in Clinton, Mississippi, I would be looking at three things. Number one, is this property habitable? Maybe somebody's been living there, maybe it's been rented out. Who knows? But is it habitable at all, either in the primary residence or in the guest residence? Because that makes a big decision about, are there things there? Hard to say. Is it habitable? Number two is, am I comfortable doing a ton of repairs to a house? Because this house looks like, from the pictures, that it needs a lot of repairs. And from the data that we provide, looks like it needs a significant amount of repairs. Not everybody has the stomach for that. If you don't have the stomach for it, don't get swayed by the fact that it's a big house at a cheap price. It needs a lot of work. And then the third thing I would look at is, what's it cost to scrape it? Just knock it down. I did look up the average per acre in Clinton, Mississippi, and it's about 50 grand an acre. So if you're at 8 acres, it's about 400 grand. Now, you may think that, great, I'll just scrape it and buy the land and then build something on it later. But 8 acres is a lot. You can do a lot with 8 acres. You could build a family compound. You could do all sorts of things. So I would go in eyes wide open. And then the fourth thing, because I always have to have a fourth thing, is how desperate are they to get rid of it? Because you're right. If they're desperate to get rid of it, you can spend a lot less money on this house than what they're asking for it. It's been on the market for almost a year. So there's probably some level of recovery that they want to get from it. But I would walk in thinking right away, I'm looking at 100 grand discount off the price. And if they don't want to do it, then great, I'll do it. It's not worth it. But it's also could be a gold mine if you do it right. So, but you have to have the right temperament for it. You have to be a pro repair person, and you have to be enthusiastic about all the bad things that can happen when you're renovating a property. And so, yeah, those are the things I would be looking at for this property. There's a lot of potential pluses. There's an even bigger number of minuses. So for me, I like renovating houses. Would I like renovating this house? Don't know. For you, as the guy who walks in and says, sell me this place with all the furniture in it, this is not a John Siegman house.
This is not even
Not a
close.
John Siegman house.
I'll take the house. I'll take the furniture. You can keep the kids.
Get your pillows and get out. The one stuffed animal stays, the rest can go. All right, John, any parting thoughts about this location?
If you want to be in Mississippi, you want some land, go take a look.
You could do worse. You could put your trailer there and just be happy. Leave me alone. There's stuff nearby.
I don't see that in your future. I know it's not in mine.
Listen, I have enjoyed my time in Mississippi quite a bit. Not quite sure I would want to buy this house, but I could see how somebody would want to buy this house, and it could be a very good purchase for the right kind of person. So, for this week's episode of Property of the Week in beautiful Clinton, Mississippi, I'm Bob Frady.
I'm John Siegman, and Bob forgot to tell you to
Click on the subscribe button. It makes us feel better about ourselves. Till next time.